It's time. Let's do it. Let's roll.
I want to welcome everyone here and appreciate everybody coming out. And I do serve on the board with Sandy Curd, and she does a good job. So let's see what she's got to say, see what she can help us with.
Fantastic. Thank you, Judge. And Kim and Tina are on our advisory committee. They have been very faithful despite the distance that they have to drive to be to our advisory committee meetings. And they've always been super in trying to convey what's happening in Letcher County in ways that the Promise Zone could be more effective. Again, I'm Sandy Curd. Knox County, I was talking to their Chamber of Commerce, and they said they like funny, okay? And I said, uh-oh. So I went out and memorized a joke for them, all right? Now, if you're like me and you go to the trouble to memorize a joke, you hate to only use it once. So if you all don't mind, I'm going to try out my Knox County joke and see if it plays as well on this side of the mountain, all right? So there's this fella, and he's sitting in the Pine Mountain grill over here having a fine cup of coffee. Looks something like this. And another man walks in, sits down in front of him, and says, "Hi, I'm a genie, and I'm here to grant you a wish." And the guy looks at him and says, "A genie? I thought you were a myth." He goes, "No, we're not a myth, we're real." And he said, "But I thought we were supposed to get 3 wishes." He goes, "That part's the myth. You got 1 wish. Now come on, we're burning daylight here." So anyhow, the guy thinks, and he thinks real hard, and he goes, "Well, you know, my wife and I have always wanted to go to Hawaii for a vacation. But she is terrified of flying, and I get seasick if I get in the bathtub. How about you build us a road from San Diego down to Honolulu, and we can drive for our Hawaiian vacation?" And the genie looks at him and says, "Are you crazy?" He said, "Do you know how far it is between San Diego and Honolulu?" He said, "Do you know how deep the ocean is? If I just try to keep you out of the swells of the ocean that get as high as 5 stories high, I'm going to have to build that bridge way up there." He said, "You're not going to be able to drive it in 1 day or 1 tank of gas, so I'm going to have to put gas stations along the way. Chances are you're going to want a hotel to stay in because you're not going to be able to drive it straight through. So I'm going to have to put hotels, and you're the type of guy, I bet, that even travels with his dog. And I expect you're going to want to have a little grassy area someplace out there to be able to walk your dog on the way down there." He said, "You know, it's not standard protocol, but by golly, you got to come up with another wish." Well, the guy said, and he was just kind of shocked, you know, I mean, this is his first genie encounter and all, and to find out that his wish was just, you know, too big, he thought, well, what can I wish for? He goes, "Well, you know what?" He said, "I got one for you. It doesn't involve construction at all." He said, "I want to know why. I want to know why last summer the New York Times wrote an article titled, 'What's the Matter with Clay County?' I want to know why, after 50 years of a war on poverty, are we still have worse statistics than when we started? I want to know why it's not working and what we need to do about it." And the genie looks at him, he sighs, and he says, "You want it 1 lane or 2? Thank you, I do appreciate that. So, oh yeah, wow. See, I'm trying to get a thought, so this is fantastic. All right. But I'm here to tell you that I don't think the war on poverty was a failure. I think it did exactly what we want, a good thing. It improved our education, it improved our workforce skills, and when the rug got pulled out from underneath us with our jobs, they did what anybody would do. They went looking for jobs elsewhere. So anyhow, I want to talk to you today about what happened to us last year. And that was on January 7th, we were named, in America, there were 5 Promise Zones named. One was Los Angeles, one was San Antonio, one was Philadelphia. There was the Choctaw Nation of southeast Oklahoma, and then there was us, the only rural Promise Zone in all of America. Now, what does the Promise Zone do for us? The Promise Zone gives us 3 things. 1, on certain federal grants, we get priority points, okay? That means that we will have a competitive advantage when those grants are reviewed and possibly bring in more federal funding for those ideas. The second thing it does is it gives us free technical support. in the government, there are all sorts of little pockets of really good information and really good, smart people. And we can get access those folks for free. Doesn't come with money, but we can get them for free. An example is a service called 311 for Cities. We have enrolled every single mayor in the Promise Zone. There are 16, by the way. And we have enrolled them, and it is a service that allows them to take issues plaguing their city and to put it into the computer and to see what other cities are doing. Let's take an example. There's a city in our community that the homeless shelter is on the courthouse square, okay? And they need the homeless shelter, but they also have some challenges that come with that, as you can well imagine. Are they the first people in America to ever have a homeless shelter issue that they needed to deal with? Of course not. So they can plug that in and find out what other communities of like sizes have done with this. Another mayor in our community has a situation with long-lost landlords. They have gone wherever they are. They've left these downtown buildings. They're not doing anything with them. They're not taking care of them. They need to know, what can I do to take care of that? What are the pros and cons? What are other things? So we put that in there, and they give that back. Now, we've been enrolled in that program for just a little bit of time. After we get finished with the listening sessions, I'll go and meet with every single one of our mayors to talk to them more about utilizing that effectively. But that's a free service to them for the next 10 years. The third thing is being worked on, okay? And that is tax credits. To get a tax credit takes an act of Congress. And I don't mean that as hyperbole, I mean it for real. It takes Congress to take action to get a tax cut. Now, right now, in both the House and the Senate, there is legislation that has been filed. And that is essentially to give every single business operating in the Promise Zone a tax credit that goes for every one of their employees that they employ that lives in the Promise Zone. And I think it's like 20% of the first 15,000 or something like that. Please don't quote my numbers. When we get that legislation, then we hope I'll get those numbers exactly straight and be able to come back out with that. But we've been challenged because you all read the papers, you all watch the news, you know, the relationship between the House and the Hill has not always been the best, and there just seems to be some difficulty in getting this all passed. We do believe that in April, when more Promise Zones will be announced, that will give us greater representation in Congress, and that we may be able to do a push to be able to get those tax credits through. The tax credits are exactly what we experienced with the Empowerment Zone during the Clinton administration. The Empowerment Zone were 3 little counties in central Kentucky. We had Jackson, we had Clinton, we had Wayne. And those folks got the same tax credit. Those counties have been able to document whatever the indicator is for poverty, and they've been able to watch that improve by 10 steps, points, percentages. I'm not sure what that is, but it's gone the right direction, and it's gone by a factor of 10. What's more is, what was going to be a tax credit for a period of time has been extended not once but twice. So if we can get this legislation passed, that will be a huge and powerful tool for our Promise Zone to be able to grow. It will allow every business person in the area to end the year with this nice little nest egg that they didn't have the year before, and to be able to reapply that in the manner that they see fit. Now, let's review here. Let's see if I can get my technology to not embarrass me. There we go. The Promise Zone. I call it the neck of the fish of the shape of Kentucky here, but it's Bell County, Clay County, Harlan, Knox, Leslie, Letcher, Perry, and Whitley. And it goes around. Now, Whitley County had a little bit of a problem in that we had to remove 2 census tracts out of Whitley County. I was with them on Friday, and I had to explain a lot about those census tracts. But it was because in order to apply to be a Promise Zone, you had to identify a population of 200,000 people or less. In order for us to get into that qualification, we had to pull out something. And so we went after the northwest section of Whitley County. Sadly, where I live is in that little northwest section of Whitley County. I can stand on my back porch, I can look out, I can see the Promised Zone, but I'm not in the Promised Zone. So anyhow, but that's the reason. Now, why did we go after these particular counties? Because if you go into Owsley, if you go into Knott, if you go into Jackson, they're all looking at us and saying, why didn't you include us? Why didn't you include us in this? And we're like, well, first of all, we were constrained by the 200,000 people. And the second reason was because in the 45 years that Kentucky Highlands has been in business, it has had a 22 county service area. And they looked at that 22 county service area and said, where have we made the least impact? Where have we had the toughest time getting any inroads in order to be able to change the quality of our lives? And these were the counties that were that, and they thought, well, perhaps the Promised Zone will be that last little tool that will be able to help us to be able to turn ourselves around. So, what is next here? Now, last year, after the President's announcement, Kentucky Highlands contracted with the University of Kentucky with their College of Agriculture, and it's a division called CDIC, and they asked them to come out and to hold listening sessions. And they held 2 in every single county, one for adults and one for youth. How many of you got a chance to be there at a listening session last year? Yes, 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 fantastic. And I got some new people too, that's even better. All right, so anyhow, they took all that they heard from these listening sessions, compiled them, and tried to create a very distilled vision statement, as well as a set of 10 goals and some action strategies that we are using. My job here today is to run that by you and see if we missed anything, okay? So first of all, for those of you who can't read this itty-bitty writing, I do have copies of this in the back of the room. So do we need to get this? Okay, we need to get this. Hang on a second. Let's get it open, because it's really tiny, right? All right, thank you. Thank you, Tina. There were nods. I saw nods happening up here. So, all right. So anyhow, the people and organizations of the Promised Zone will mobilize. They're human. That's all of you all. They're natural. That mountains, those beautiful trees, those rivers, all of those things. They're cultural. What are our cultural? What's our culture? Anybody? Our culture. What's unique?
Music, crafts, art.
Yes, yes, yes. Do we have our own special instruments? Anybody?
Yeah.
Dulcimer? Okay, alrighty. Do we have a tradition of poetry, literature, and storytelling? Yeah, okay. So anyhow, we're going to mobilize those things. Our historic. We got any history around here? Anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some history. Yeah, from the very first people that came walking over to the very first folks who were living here before that. We've got tons of history. And our economic assets, which are every single business, including the grill that we're standing in right now, that would come together and design communities where, and here's the vision part, a competitively trained workforce can find meaningful work that provides wages and benefits capable of supporting a family. Hard to imagine. I mean, that just seems like just a basics of life, doesn't it? A wage where you can support your family. A healthy environment which provides diverse economic and recreational opportunities for a healthy population. Now, I'll share just a little something with you guys. 3 years ago, my husband was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. And for 3 years, I have completely and totally understood what my grandmother was saying when it's, you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And we've got a population of folks that are not as healthy as they could be. That means that they are not able to participate in the quality of life to the fullest extent that they can. And that's something that the vision addresses. Regional and personal histories to provide a context for the continued growth in culture, artisan and craft skills, and knowledge that help create such resilient people and places. Anybody who's down here says they want to reinvent Lexington or Louisville or Covington or any of that in the Promised Zone, That's not what we heard you guys say. You know, it wasn't that we want a Target in every single city and town. I want to be nice, but that's okay. You know, but anyhow, but I mean, it's to take what we've got, our personal histories, and to make it unique and specific to us. Community and regional decisions reflect the broad engagement of all those who live here and energizes participation in civic life. The fact that you guys are here, I think, is a huge sign of that. And then build a sense of hope and optimism for change through the implementation of the region's action strategies, the vision. What do you think? Sounds like a place. I mean, they didn't get all that specific. They didn't come and say we're going to look this way. They just said it's going to feel this way in 10 years, or when we get to the promise. Okay? The very first goal number 1, and let me change my little screen here. There we go. We're going to build a sustainable regional economy that benefits all persons regardless of county of residence. Implement a regional community and economic development plan that mobilizes shared resources. And underneath there, and I'm not going to read all these because after all, this is not church, you all were just there yesterday. There are 16 different action strategies under there of different things we'll do that would accomplish that particular goal. But what I really want you to do is to look at the column on the far side, because in that column under it says partners. These are organizations in existence who have said that we're going to help implement that action strategy in the Promise Zone. The first one, and you see there's just tons of capital letters there. Very first one is SCID. It's a lovely name, Southern Kentucky Economic Development. You know, but for some reason, everybody I've discovered really likes to abbreviate themselves. And they want to have a really perfect name for their organization on what they do, but then they abbreviate it, and then they become this thing called SCID. And y'all, I wouldn't name my dog SCID, okay? I mean, you know, I was working there at the office my first week, I got a phone call, SCID's on the line. I'm like, what? What in the world could possibly have a name like that? But anyhow, these are the folks that have committed themselves over the next 10 years to be able to help us implement that goal. Goal number 2. Change this here. There we go. Goal number 2 is to collaborate to assure geographically comprehensive and affordable access to high-speed broadband and internet and cell phone service throughout the Promise Zone. Y'all, I got to go December 23rd. We were in the Capitol. On the stage was Governor Beshear, beside him was Congressman Rogers, and behind him was former UK basketball player Jack Gibbons. Please tell me you remember who the goose is. Okay, a week ago Monday, the room was filled with a bunch of high school kids, and there was one who had even heard of the goose. I'm like, oh no, we got to do better on our storytelling, come on. So anyhow, but that particular day was so important because that was the day that a contract was signed. A contract that will create a broadband backbone of very, very fast, cheaper than currently available internet service throughout the entire state of Kentucky. And guess what? The Promise Zone is in phase 1. We are supposed to, by April of 2016, see a broadband backbone that goes all the way up the parkway, comes right through here and heads straight up to Prestonsburg, and then there's going to be another backbone that's going to come down 25E, it's going to head to Pineville, then it's going to take off and go up to Harlan, and from there it's going to head on up, cross down, what is it, 119, and then over to Pikeville, okay? And then we will have the backbone that will allow us then to circumvent any traveling problems that we've ever had in the past and to be able to connect with the world and to leverage that on any type of digital business that exists out there. Now, 2.2 under here says, work with cell phone providers to improve affordable and full geographic coverage in the Promise Zone counties. If you notice, there's a big flat blank there. I am still looking for partners to help with that. And if anybody knows of anyone, because frankly, I'm one of those people, I can cross the county line and it's gone. It is gone. You know, there is no cell service. So anyhow, but we're still looking on that. It's there, it's kept with us. We just got to find partners in order to be able to try to address it. Goal 3 was just real important to everybody, and it's the biggest goal that we have. And that is that we're going to seek competitive advantages based on our natural built, economic, and human capital by coordinating the diversification of the economic base of the region. It has 4 subsections under it. Now, I don't know what I'm about to say if I'll ever be asked back to Whitesburg again, okay? But I have people who come to me who say, Cole will be back. Cole will be back. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But this time, let them just represent 30% of the economy instead of 98%. Let's fix it so that every time Wall Street and Washington, D.C. decides to cough a little, we don't have to catch pneumonia and reinvent ourselves. Let's have it so diversified that it's not tied so tightly to one thing, but it reflects a wide variety of economies and industries. And in that, we have 3 or 4 different sections. We have a small business and entrepreneur economic development section with a variety of partners there that will come and help us in being able to expand all of our little businesses and make them bigger. You know, we have something like 4,000. Okay, that number may be incorrect, but we've got a lot. We have a lot of small businesses that file income taxes saying that they're small businesses and they have an employee. If we were to get every single one of those to add one more employee, we would be able to make a huge dent in our unemployment. So anyhow, we want to do that. We also want to grab the entrepreneur, okay? There is an entrepreneurial way of thinking that is different than other ways of thinking, okay? And with that, it is, you see you see yourself as in control and being able to make differences and being able to make decisions. Even if you chose never ever to open your own business, if we can instill more entrepreneurial thinking in our folks, then they will look at situations differently. Even buying a home is an entrepreneurial decision. Did you shop for your loan to get the best, or did you think you were just lucky that they gave you a loan? Did are you watching your utilities? Are you trying to figure out ways to control your costs there? Are you trying to maintain the facility for its resale value? All of these things are entrepreneurial thinking. So we want to be able to encourage that and to get people to constantly be thinking that way. Now, please do not leave here and go out and borrow money on an idea you have. That helps nobody, okay? Going into debt and losing your home before you're ready helps no one. But if you are out there and if you are trying to pencil out ideas, come up with other ideas, sort them out, encourage, that's the type of thing that we're talking about there. We also have a section here called Agricultural Economic Development, which right now is all the rage. Okay? There's tons of movement for people to get closer to their food, to know their farmer that grew it, and to be able to step over that huge, vast middleman section and allow consumers to buy directly from their farmers. You all got a farmer's market?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huh? Yes, ma'am, it is. Yes, ma'am, it is. And so anyhow, that farmer's market is a great way to be able to energize the small business. What I personally love about agriculture, and I'm the president of the Whitley County Farmers Market, I don't vend because, frankly, I stink as a farmer. But I love the farmers market and I love the idea. And but what I like about it the most is that for a reasonably small capital investment, you can go and learn every business principle that you need to know in order to be an entrepreneur without losing your home, okay? Because everything that you do, from developing your customer base to marketing your product to dealing with the competition of the other vendors, all of those things are all the same principles. We go on, we've got a section on natural resources and renewable energy development to take advantage of as much of that out there that is possible. And and one that we hear a lot, especially out of young people, and that is regional and community tourism development. Now, is tourism going to be the answer to everything? Probably not. However, it can be one of the many arms of the economy that we use to, one, instill pride in all of us, to give entry-level jobs, to give second jobs to those people who just need a part-time job, those types of things, and it allows us to be able to utilize some of our natural, cultural, and historic resources. All right, goal number 4 is a huge goal. Let me get, where'd it go? There it is, huge. Because it's to assure the geographic and affordable access to post-secondary education and workforce training for youth and adults in the region through enhanced pre-K through adult education, which is all to say, all the progress we've made in improving our education system, we want to keep on doing that. We want to keep going after grants that allow us to do that. One of the best partners that we have in Partners in Education out of Berea College submitted a grant that is our largest to date for $38 million over the next 7 years to put in a college readiness class in every single, in a school district in every single county. Our counties have multiple school districts, but they were able to get into one in every single one of these counties, and they were able to do that for 5 SOAR counties as well, which is an example of how the Promise Zone can help out more than just us. Because by doing that, she got the competitive advantage of the Promise Zone points, but then she was also able to help out another part of the region, which is the SOAR region, okay? So we have that. Then goal number 5. Coordinate the programs to assure the availability and affordability of critical health services, particularly drug and alcohol treatment and rehabilitative services within the counties. The more we work together, the more we hope to be able to bring in money for those things, to be able to, not everybody offer the same things. What can we do to work together? How can we make our community more healthy? The drug and alcohol treatment, I mean, you guys, I know you know about the drug problem and what it has done to all of us around here and so forth. I wish that was something that I understood. I don't get it. It's a place that I don't personally want to go or venture into, but I know that we've got to get those folks out of that nightmare and back into our community, because that's just a better place to be. All right, goal number 6, to increase affordable. Yes.
Before we go there, let me
Yes.
point out something about the goal number 5.
All right.
You missed the submerged part of the iceberg, and that's just primary care for the people.
Primary care for the people.
Primary care sees more people in a month than all the drug and alcohol treatment facilities would in a year, and that's been very generous. Without just basic care, without the quality aspects that are going on now to help people be compliant on their needs for their care so they live a longer, more full life. That is the basic building block of everything, is your primary care. And without it, you're just missing the whole point there.
All right, you've got that captured there, okay? All right, goal number 6, to increase affordable, energy efficient, and quality housing for individuals and families of all ages and income levels. You all, there is a pilot program. It's happening in Whitley County. It's happening in a community called Emmeline, and it's on the Kentucky River. And they built like 3 energy efficient homes. These homes are so energy efficient that they actually have to have a venting system to circulate the air through the home, or else it becomes toxic, okay? So, and it has a little timer or a little sensor on it to know when to run. It has solar panels on the top of it. Now, there were 3 different families. We had, I think, a family of like 5 that lived in one. We had a couple that lived in another. We had an individual woman living in the third. And the woman was, she studied her manuals. It was all energy efficient appliances in there, and she studied how to use these to the maximum amount of their capability. So I want y'all, and because it was a pilot program, we measured energy usage, okay? So at the end of their first year of existence, that lady who studied her manuals, I want you to take a guess. How much did she pay for electricity that year? Guesses? Anybody? Huh? $100. Okay. What else? $1,000. Okay. What else? 500. This lady got a check back from the utility company for $97. She paid $0 for that. I want that house. I want that house for me. But anyhow, that is to say that there is technology out there that we could actually reduce the utility bill for these folks. My employer, Jerry Rickett, he's got this passion for these pre-1976 trailers, okay? There are lots of them in our community. Why pre-1976? It wasn't because it was the bicentennial, but it was because everything before that didn't require insulation, okay? So it's just a house or a trailer without any type of energy efficiency at all. There are folks living in those houses in which their utility bill is more than their rent, and they're not even warm. If we could figure out ways to be able to change those out and put instead into one of these types of energy efficient homes where they were paying what they pay to utilities on a mortgage, what type of difference would that make? Can you imagine? There's thousands of them, folks. Just try to figure out the way to be able to get it done. Goal number 7. And this was a surprise to us all, and you're going to notice I haven't found a single partner for it yet. Yes, sir.
Before you move on.
Yes.
You talk about energy efficiency.
Yes, sir.
Well, is this going to affect any of the state regulations that apply to the energy providers that are right now? Like right now, they're talking about, we've already had increases across the board on our energy bills.
Right.
Electricity.
Right.
And they're talking about even putting more increases on it in the future to compensate for, they're going to raise the basic rates and stuff like that people have places to have power.
Right.
Is this going to affect that?
The only part that what I just described to you is going to affect is the fact that we hope to be able, that we can get folks in there to try to make existing facilities and homes more energy efficient so that as those rates go up, you're using less and less energy. But, yeah.
It don't matter how much, how efficient your home is, if you're leaving that zero, your basic utility, just be hooked up to the utility is going to increase.
Yes.
So that, where's the housing incentive going to be in there to be more energy efficient if you're still going to be paying the same utility? If you're using less power, but still paying the same bill.
Well, it's because, I hear what you're saying. The difference is you could either be paying the same bill or you could be paying twice the same bill, okay? But you're saying that we need to have some type of goal in that addresses the rate increases.
Yes.
Okay.
And
In regulations.
And promotes the renewable energy.
Okay.
Right now, it's just a deal. It's there right now. There's no incentive to do any of that. There's no incentive.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Do you know anybody that's working on those things? Because I got to have partners. So do you know you are? What's your organization?
Well, I'm just a citizen.
Oh, okay. Citizen of the Electric Company. Okay. All righty. Okay.
I just want to say, someone
Yes.
recently told me that you don't have to look up to the grid when you use alternative energy. So we might want to explore that, because you don't have to look up to the grid. That saves that issue that you're talking about. And this was just in the last 2 days this person spoke to me about. And those are the things that we need to know before we make decisions on what to do.
Sure.
And the Public Service Commission who decides about the increases, so, that's.
Okay. Okay.
My knowledge of this came from a Growing Appalachia meeting that was last Saturday.
Uh-huh.
There was a school in western Kentucky that's
Uh-huh.
completely green. Richardson Elementary possibly. And at the end of their year, they get a check of $36,000, zero each month, and are paid $36,000 at the end of the year. The question came up, like there was a school in Martin County that wanted to do that. And the question came up, how can we do that? Why is that so easy to happen in the Bowling Green area, but it's not happening here? And Lisa Abbott, want to help me? Okay, Lisa Abbott, her answer to that was their power is from TVA, and they have regulations that make it more likely for that to happen. And here in this region, the regulations are not welcoming of that.
Oh, I believe it.
So I guess that's what we're saying, that is because this promise zone seems like it might have enough bite and strength to address some of those issues at the larger level. So that's.
Just remember, the promise zone brings you three things, okay? The bite is you guys, okay? The bite is you all, because you come together and you say you don't want it that way anymore. But I know exactly what you're talking about. I lived in the city of Corbin and got Kentucky Utilities. Moved out and got my farm out, and it was on a cooperative, rural cooperative. Kept hearing about the wonderful things happening in Jackson County, Jackson Energy. You know, go and get your rebate for energy efficiency. Go and do all these other things. I had to go to the cooperative. I had to bang on their door for the 2-hour window of opportunity that the individual who makes those decisions was available, and demand I get my $100 back for putting in $4,000 worth of extra installation. So I know exactly what you're talking about on that.
And just last part, their utility bill was normally $6,000 to $7,000 a month. So they're not paying that $6,000 to $7,000 a month and getting $36,000.
There you go. There you go. So yes, ma'am.
If we're going to be on this energy, we need to add that we need to explore micro hydropower. People don't know this, but the man who wired the spaceship that went to the moon said 30 years ago we could power every bit of eastern Kentucky with turbines in the rivers and the little hollows.
Okay.
And nobody ever talks about micro hydropower.
Okay. Get that water back into use. Anybody ever watch all those shows on Alaska on the Discovery Channel? There's so many shows in Alaska right now that I honestly believe everybody in the whole community's got a camera on the entire stage. But anyhow, you know, they don't have utilities. They make their own. It's out there. Okay. Going on. Anybody else? I don't want to rush. Okay. Going on to goal number 7, expand transportation across access within the region. Now, we were trying to figure out how come this came up and how come it came up so often, but for a lot of individuals that are in agencies, that are in social services, they go and they write out a grant, and it's like this question, how are your clients going to get to you? And you have to say, I don't know, or they're going to drive. And you realize that those 15 points you just lost on that grant application because you do not have a public transportation system to be able to say is available to your clientele. Now, years, been reading the newspaper, the Lexington newspaper. Every 5 years, Letcher gets into financial trouble. It seems like they're about to bottom up, okay? They're in the red. They have to restructure everything, and they have to raise rates, and they have to do all these other things. And I'm like, if a population density the size of Lexington cannot support public transportation, how are we going to pull that out here in the promise zone? But let's think about it again. Are there ways besides having Greyhound buses that could be accomplished, okay? What if we were able to have a taxi service? And there's a taxi service thriving over in the western part of the promise zone, venture cabs, but they're real expensive, I know. But if you're writing a grant and you're trying to say that you've got access to transportation, you can say we're supplying vouchers or we're doing something that accesses in that transportation. What about Uber? Anybody heard of this Uber? Okay, it's like the Craigslist for people who have a car and time. You call this person, you go, I need to go to the grocery store on this particular day. They say, I'll take you there for $20 and I'll be there to pick you up and take you back, and we got a deal. Now, in the cities, it happens a little more without actually involving a phone call. It's an app and it has GPS all in it. But is it possible that we can do something like that? So anyhow, we haven't lost track of this transportation issue, but it's going to take some real creative stuff for us to be able to figure out how we're going to be able to address that. Goal number 8 is a real important one to me, and I'm 3 goals ahead of my slides here, daggone it. But this is the revitalization of downtowns in the region as retail and residential centers. I'm happen to be one of those people who absolutely positively believes that a thriving downtown is a sign of a healthy community, okay? Now, does that mean that every single building has to look perfectly structured and exactly like we pictured in Leave It to Beaver? No. I tell you what, I don't know if any of you guys have had this experience, but I've had it happen to me twice now, and that is some friends of mine have gone to South Florida, and they go by and they're like, oh, we're just going to check out this little place called The Villages down there. And they get down there and they go to this cookie cutter world, this cerebral type of thing that they've got completely and totally controlled, and they come back home and they said, I bought a house. And I'm like, you did what? You went down there on a visit and you bought this house? Okay? So I'm not suggesting at all that we go and that our downtowns have to look that way, but they need to look healthy. And how do they look healthy? Because they're occupied, all right? There's something in there, living in there, that's caring about that and doing business or living themselves or anyhow. But that, I think, for myself, is a sign of a healthy community. Goal number 9, increase the recreation, arts, and community engagement opportunities for youth and adults. We all have to play. If we're going to be healthy, we've got to play. If we're going to have tourists, they got to have places to play. We've got to be able to do that. We've got to be able to showcase those. And then finally, goal number 10, which is expand and diversify the pool of community leaders in the region and create opportunities for them to be engaged in civic dialogues and decision making. Okay? It's no time to sit back. The situation's too dire. You got to get in there and you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to get busy and you got to participate. You got to vote. You got to talk. You got to just be engaged. And if you don't know how, then we got to show you how, because that's part of what it's going to take to get this to move forward. Now, so how did we come along? We started out, we wrote this grant back in 2013. We started out and we had 12 implementing partners who said, with letters of support, they said to us, if you are made a promise zone, we agree to do the following things for the next 10 years. Since that time, we have now expanded that, and I'm very pleased to tell you we are up to 50 implementing partners right now. And we had to decide how we were going to organize ourselves to work collaboratively. And the way that we did that was we created this thing called, don't put it there, Sandy, that blocks everything, the Working Committee. And the purpose of the Working Committee was to plan collaboration among the partners. There's no reason that our partners should be competing against one another when we might be more effective if we work together. To use the strategic plan as the roadmap for what the people want, not for what you think you can do. We don't need an ivory tower happening anyplace. We need what we need, okay? And to focus their efforts on securing funding and bringing that back into the area. We divided ourselves up into 6 working committees. They're very traditional, okay? With that was our education. And we identified a lead partner for education, and the lead partner's role is to do nothing but to call the meeting, okay? And the lead partner for education is Dreama Gentry, Partners in Education out of Berea College. She's the lady who was the author behind the $38 million grant, and she is amazing. She's going after them like you would not believe. Then we have healthcare. And on that, our lead partner for that is Joe Grossman. He's the president of Appalachian Regional Healthcare, the largest employer that we have in the Promise Zone. For economic development, we had to look high and low, but we tapped my employer, Jerry Rickett, for that. Then, for housing, we looked at Jim King, who is the executive director of FAHE, the Federation of Appalachian Housing Enterprises, and he chairs that one. for ag and healthy food, we have Martin Richards, who's the executive director of the Community Farm Alliance. And then for communications, we have Lonnie Lawson over the Center for Rural Development. And he's in a meeting all the time. He's the only one that's in that category. And so he's just never not meeting with himself. But he got the broadband sign. Beginning of this month, believe it or not, I can't believe how much water has gone under the bridge in March, and that's both literally and figuratively. But at the beginning of March, the undersecretary, brand new undersecretary of USDA Rural Development, Lisa Mensa, had only been on the job maybe 6-7 weeks, and she came along. She goes, "I want to see my chromosomes. I want to see my chromosomes." And so she came down, and we got her for 50 whole minutes, had all the lead partners sitting around the table telling her about what was going on in the chromosome, what we hoped would be happening in the chromosome. And I prepared a little thing called Chromosome by the Numbers. And I will tell you that this has changed since I did this, and that was just the first of the month. Letters of support, 68, we're now up to 75, okay? What's a letter of support? A letter of support is what you guys ask from me if you're writing a grant and you're like, "I gotta tell them that I'm with the chromosome. How are they gonna believe me if I just tell them I'm in the chromosome?" Okay, well what I do is you tell me, you email me, you said, "I'm going for a grant on this. It's gonna be for this." And I turn around and get you a PDF signed letter on letterhead about how your project fits into the chromosome vision, okay? I have done it as quickly as 2 hours. I do ask for a little more time than that. However, if that's what it takes to get the job done, that's what we will do, okay? But that's the letters of support. So we're now up to 75 of those. Number of partners, I told you, we're now up to 50. Dollars identified. When I started this process last week, that number had gone up to $115 million. But Wednesday, there was a press conference, and the chromosome received $19.9 million from the USDA Food Division for SNAP recipients to do pilot programs, one of 3 states in the country, to do pilot programs to be able to determine methods that would allow SNAP recipients to be able to return to the workforce. That was $19.9 million, so that figure is now $135 million and some change. Now, that is $135 million over 7 years divided among 8 counties. Some of them going into SOAR counties. By the time you do the division, you do the math, you realize that what we're probably talking about is maybe 3 to 5 jobs a county. That's not going to solve a problem, but at least it's in the right direction. Days remaining in the designation, we got 8 years and 200 and something days to get this job really rolling. We got 8 counties, we got 199,682 people, we got 16 cities, we got 10 goals, 57 action strategies. We have 6 working committees. We have 12 federal partners. What are they? That is every agency of the government that's offering priority points for chromosome. That's USDA, that's HUD, that's the Department of Justice, that's the National Endowment for the Arts, that's the Department of Labor. There are 37 different grant opportunities out there that offer specific prioritization for the chromosome. It is my personal goal that we have a grant competing for that for each and every one of those. If we don't, shame on us. And of course, you all are very familiar with how our median income and our unemployment rate are half of that for the rest of the state. We are governed by what's called an advisory committee. It was created in our original grant application. That grant application said that we would have a committee of 17 individuals, 8 of which would be appointed by the county judge executive. And I'm very pleased that your county judge executive decided that the chromosome was important enough for him to serve. And for some, they have appointed key staff members to be able to serve in that role. But anyhow, that's where that person is. Then Kentucky Highlands took a look at relationships that we had either on our board or on some of our committees. And if that person lived in the county, we asked them if they would be willing to serve on the advisory council. And then it's chaired by Kentucky Highlands Chairman Bill Singleton. Okay? If you will look, here are your people, Jim Ward and Tina Whitaker. And they're going to love me for saying this, but you don't have to always call me. You can call them. You can talk to them. They're in your community. They're right next door. You're seeing them all the time. So go ahead and chat with them about the Promise Zone, what's new, what's happening. Then we added some additional seats so that now our board is up to 21. We realized that there were certain key agencies that we needed to be a part of, that needed to be a part of this, and one is USDA RD. Why? Because Los Angeles, San Antonio, and Philadelphia, their Promise Zones report to HUD. But the Choctaw Nation and us, the rural one, we go to USDA RD. So we thought it was very important to have representation on our board of the very people that we're reporting to. The second was the University of Kentucky CEDIC, the very folks that did the listening sessions here, okay? And they have so much talent and free services to avail to all of us that it was important to have them on there. As a matter of fact, they are offering for the Tri-Cities in Harlan as well as Pineville and Bell County free strategic planning, okay? Berea College, because they've been so instrumental in bringing the money home. And then this last one that was just added, and that is the Executive Director of SOAR. Why? Because the Promise Zone, every single county of the Promise Zone is a SOAR county. We are one and the same. We are in the family. The only difference is we've got one teeny tiny more tool in our toolbox than what they have, and we need to use that to maximize the impact that it has both for us and for the entire Eastern Kentucky, for the entire SOAR region. And I mentioned earlier about how our Gear Up grant was doing just that. So that's the type of thinking that we've got to do for it. All right, I've got a website, and I hope you visit it. It's on it. It has on the top opportunities. And under opportunities, every single time I hear about a grant, I post it right there. I would hope that you would go and you would bookmark my website, and that you would make a part of your routine. Every Monday before I go home, I'm just going to glance to see what's come out recently for grants. I wish I was in the position to be able to troll for grants for everybody. But if we're going to unleash the 199,000 people of the Promise Zone, that's one of the things that we've all got to get in there and do together, okay? Otherwise, we bottlenecked it. We made it where it's not going to be able to have its full expansion. And the last thing is I've added Instagram. And Instagram, so I wanted to be able to get I don't know, whatever generation's now talking to now, I don't know. But anyhow, I'd love to be able to, if you would, before we get into the discussion part, to smile at me if you have one of my Poor Man bumper stickers, to hold it up and let me get a picture so that I can post on the website about the beautiful people of Letcher County that came out for their listening session. Okay, everybody, hold it up. Yes, thank you, thank you. All right, here we go. And that'll be available on Instagram, #PromiseZone, okay? Alrighty, so you guys have been super in that you've already started priming the pipes, okay? And being able to get some stuff on this board. But why don't you just tell me a little bit about what's going on in Letcher County? What's happening? What's new? What's great? What's to be, what do we need to write home about?
I actually had a question for Cindy.
Yes.
When you said there were 50 partners, why aren't they listed as a part of the goals? If there's all, like for instance, Hazard Community Technical College is listed as a partner in many of the goals and whatever,
Yes.
but Southeast isn't, or Somerset that has campuses in Clay County. Why aren't all the partners initiated in the goals?
Okay, the reason is because I took the strategic plan and I emailed it to all of our partners, and I said, guys, will you look at these goals and tell me which ones you're going to be accountable for? Hazard sent it back to me. I'm still waiting on Southeast.
Okay.
Okay? So, nothing is happening? Come on, it's Letcher County. Come on, what's going on? Yeah.
a grant from Brussy Fork and ARC to host a 2-day summit to bring all Letcher Countyans together to do planning and sharing of their dreams, their hopes, and their goals. If any of you know Brussy Fork, you have probably met a man by the name of Dr. Vaughn Grisham. Well-known community development leader, he's been responsible for practically turning towns around, like Tupelo, Mississippi, and that's documented. And he is going to come here and lead this 2-day summit. He's already got it on his calendar.
Wow.
And all we're waiting for is the final word from ARC, and I was told this morning that I could speak about this, that it looks very favorable. And if it happens, this 2-day summit is going to be May 13th and 14th at the Letcher County Extension Office. And if anyone, as Mr. DePriest from Jenkins said, if anyone can get anybody excited about developing something in Letcher County, he
Yes.
can do it.
Yes.
He can turn it around. And also, there's another group in Letcher County that has a grant submitted to the same source, and I was told I could share this about them as well. Their grant also looks very favorable, so Valerie, do you want to just stand up and take it from there?
Thank you, and that is good news. Glad to hear that. I think the outlook for agriculture is really bright in Letcher County. The Letcher County Farmers Market is growing. We just had a meeting this past weekend. It's our second meeting. We have nearly 50 folks who are interested in participating in the farmers market and some level of excitement. The grant that we just mentioned she just mentioned was submitted by City of Whitesburg, as they're the fiscal sponsor for the farmers market, and it is to do a design for a permanent structure for the farmers market. So we'll be reaching out for community support and input on that, and get ideas on how we can best utilize that. We're looking at different means of agriculture. For just left a meeting in Hazard with farmers market support program, and more about that. So there's opportunities in agriculture definitely that are growing in Letcher County and the region.
That was the How to Write Better Grants and Ag.
Yes.
Fantastic. I wanted so much to be there for at least part of it, and I regret not being there. But so was it a good turnout?
It was a very nice
Very
turnout.
good.
Yes.
Very good.
We were sorry to leave that, but there's opportunity there.
Right.
Again, and it is stressed often, Promise Zone has priority, and everything, it goes so far as to say if no one from Promise Zone applies, that 10% has been allocated for Promise Zone, they'll be reaching out. You know, they'll be saying, hey, this is sitting here with your own names on it, do it. So we need to get that paperwork in there.
That's right, and I believe CEDIC was one holding that one out of the University of Kentucky, and that was free to attend that. What else? What else is going on? Cool stuff? Yes, sir.
I'm Don Ambergen. I'm with the Full Shepherd Outdoor Drama Project in Jenkins.
Oh, yes, the outdoor
And
drama.
I have recently filed a grant with the City of Jenkins, getting a partner with me.
Okay.
Now, this is not a federal source, I guess, but it's from the Cliff R. Family Foundation.
Okay.
And it's for promoting things of the outdoors,
Okay.
recreation, building, and maintenance of hiking and biking trails.
Okay.
And the enjoyment of music and arts and storytelling in an outdoor setting, so that it gets promoted.
Okay.
Now, I applied for $8,000 a year. They go on a multi-year basis. So I've applied for 5 years.
Okay.
And we'll see, how that works out.
Absolutely.
The Cliff R. Foundation, that's not a federal source, I'm pretty sure.
It's not, but let me tell you what. I am happy to write letters of support when those things come up, okay? Even if they don't require it, you never know, they might be interested in being able to say that they were a part of the Promise Zone, okay? So I hope you mentioned it many, many times. And just to share, we have had some email exchanges. Didn't I connect you up with some folks that were going after theatrical grants and National Endowment for the Arts?
Yes, you did.
Uh-huh.
And I think we can qualify and I can apply,
Uh-huh.
but
Uh-huh.
for the fast track $10,000 amounts,
Uh-huh.
you have to match dollar per dollar.
Uh-huh.
So stumped right at this.
Sure.
minute. I found that.
Is it cash or in kind? Can
It
you,
says dollar per dollar match.
it's cash, not in kind? Okay. Okay.
So that's a kind of.
Yes,
problem.
it is. It is.
But I may or may not be able to find something.
Okay.
And with Cedric Jenkins, they were developing trails and hiking facilities all over Pine Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a part of that as well. I'm working with them on that. They're working with us.
Okay.
And we sit in the middle of that development project.
Okay.
And so that's what we're
Okay.
doing. And I wish we could get, with the NEA, we might find some other amount that we can qualify
Sure.
for. I was thinking about storytelling.
Sure.
That could be another try.
Sure. And you might be able to pull in some partners, maybe some of these institutions of higher education that offer storytelling as a coursework. Okay. But we can work on that. Jenkins has got an example happening in it that just tickles the living daylights out of me, and I hope you've all heard about it. But there is a foundation out of the Tampa region in Florida called Smile Faith, and they have been doing free dental clinics down in the Tampa area for veterans who do not have access to dentistry, and for folks that are coming out of the criminal justice system that do not have access to dentistry. And they've been providing this for free for a number of years. And they realized that they had their model working so well that they wanted to replicate the model. And they said, well, we have to do it in the mountains. We have to do it in Appalachia. And so they went around and they were trying to look for a partner that they could come up with. And they found in Jenkins, God's Love from a Diaper Bag. Okay? And they had for years wanted to do a dental clinic, but you know, that's expensive. There's a lot of equipment involved in dentistry. They talked to those folks over there. The guy who is the president of the foundation got in his RV. He's a big RVer. He drove up over a weekend, parked his RV in a parking lot there, met with them. By the end of the weekend, he had secured an agreement for a partnership up there. He had bought the house next to the ministry so that his folks, when they came into town, would be able to have a place to stay, sort of a little bed and breakfast. He went down the street and he bought another rather large building. That building, he's going to take the back half, and that's going to become a community center for Jenkins. And the front half is going to be a 100-job call center. Because the for-profit arm of Smile Faith is a call center down in that takes care of, I guess, national health care or something like that. It's a dental association or those types of things. And he can divide with even the broadband that we have right now. It has enough capacity to handle that, and he can divide that workload into where there's a front end and a back end, and he can put the front end up here. And what else is special about Smile Faith is that they will employ folks that other places can't employ. If you are trying to get your life back together after having years and years of drug abuse and addiction, and now you're sober, but you can't because you have a criminal record and you can't apply to certain places, they're willing to employ you. So I'm like, when I met these folks, I was just like, if every foundation in all of America acted that way, what would America look like? You know it? But anyhow, that's something special happening in Jenkins. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm Ada Smith from Aftershock, and we've got a lot of exciting things going on there. So last fall, we received a $20,000 grant from the National Endowment for the Arts to provide a youth media program. AMI this coming summer. I think a lot of y'all know young people have been a part of the program. We accept students from 14 to 22 throughout East Kentucky, and so it's been a really amazing opportunity. It's a paid internship for 8 weeks, and so they learn a great new skill set that's, of course, really important around social media, right now and what's going on, but they also get a lot of workforce development skills. So it's a really great opportunity, and the National Endowment for the Arts is one of the agencies within the Promise Zone, so we've
Yes.
been able to secure that. We've got a lot of other pending proposals with them that we'll have a better sense of.
Great.
But we also just got word last Friday that the chairman of the National Endowment for the Arts, her name is Jane Chu, that she's going to be coming to visit Whitesburg and Eastern Kentucky due to the work that Appalachia has done for 46 years in this town. And so she'll be visiting on April 13th, that's a Tuesday. And so they're going to stop in Hyman too, because Hyman got a National Endowment for the Arts Our Town grant as well as Jenkins. And so they're going to be coming to Hyman, spending time in Whitesburg, and then we're going to take them over to Jenkins to talk about what's going on. And so, you know, just to have that visibility from a federal agency to our area based on the art and culture that's present here is really, really important. So we're really stoked about that.
I bet.
And excited for as many of y'all that want to come meet her on that day. There's going to be press and stuff, so we're really excited about it. And then the other thing that, you know, I don't know if someone else was going to talk about this, but just as a young person living this town my whole life, what I'm excited about is the trail town stuff that Jenkins is doing, and how the city of Whitesburg is also going to do, and of course this is all in partnership with the county, right? And so Pine Mountain Trail goes through 3 of the counties that are a part of the Promise Zone, and I think it's a great opportunity, and the tourism cabinet of our state government has been super, super helpful in trying to get this going. There's a lot of recreational grants they have, and so, you know, I just think it's a great opportunity for downtown revitalization in Jenkins and Whitesburg.
Thank you, Ada. Those are all exciting. All exciting. Yes.
I didn't introduce myself a while ago, but I'm Carol Lyson, Director of the County Community Center. And another thing that we're doing, we sponsor the Cowan Creek Mountain Music School. This will be our 14th year, and we're very proud of our music school. One year it won the Governor's Folk Art Award for its role in preserving traditional mountain music, and we're very proud of it. This year we're proud that we're going to be able to add storytelling to our curriculum, and we've got a very fine director who's going to be doing that. His name is Robert Martin. You may have heard of him. He's done some directing of the Higher Ground work in Harlan County, and we're proud he's doing that. And as part of the music school, we have another dream and another goal at the center, which is to develop a community theater. We have been getting some grants that are helping us prepare to do that. We want to call it the Cowan Creek Community Theater, and storytelling will be part of it. And we believe that will also add to the tourism attraction. So if any of you know or have any ideas on how we could further develop our theater project idea, we'd be interested in that.
You think these are like touchy-feely ideas, okay? But Brushy Fork will tell you, after a number of years of funding these little mini grants, that what happens when you have $5,000 and you put it in the hands of a community organization, and they go out and they paint a mural on the side of a building, or they go and design special pots and so forth, is that it allows them to get a level of confidence and communication and networking that says, well, you know, if we could do that, and not a one of us took art in high school, wonder if we could do this, wonder if we could do that. And it starts to create, and it's, you know, this word was a really great word when I was in college, synergy, and nobody uses it anymore, but I think it's a super word, you know, but it starts to create something above and beyond itself. It becomes more than just a mural. It becomes a way to bring people together over a common goal, to be able to feel like they can work together and to do other things together. So every time there is one of these community theaters, you know, please don't roll your eyes, because that is going to be the first step to doing something else. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to mention this because Sharma Chapman Crane is not here. She's in chemotherapy today. She's on the way back right now. She couldn't come. But she and the other artists in this community have started this artist organization, and they've got a gallery, and they're trying to get artist activities downtown. They've just done a phenomenal amount of work here, and So it's a new networking organization for artists.
Fantastic. I hope that we can get the word out to them that in Bell County, there's going to be a Selling to the World, second year it's offered, a workshop that they could attend to take all of that beautiful stuff that they have and get it available on the global market. Okay? So we want to be sure and encourage them to do that. So hopefully we can stay connected and get that happen. Val.
I'm sorry, but
That's all
everyone
right.
did such a better job than me, so I'm going to backtrack this a little bit. First, I did want to say, I am Valerie Horn, also am working with Community Farm Alliance, Grow Appalachia, and University of Kentucky. I wanted to just, I see we're being recorded, so I want to make sure that we get those names recognized. And I think that we also are in an important situation that we have these educational institutions that are reaching out and are looking for ways to be involved here. And that can parlay into tangible and employment and other good things for our community. Example of that is the Apple Tree Project. One of their goals is to, in promoting better health, is food and nutrition, is Water First campaign. It's not in all of the schools yet, but shortly, all of the middle and high schools will have new water bottle filling stations. All the middle school and high school students get water bottles, and that's paid for through University of Kentucky cooking classes, and it helps with a lot and lots of collaboration. So
Yes.
with these organizations working together, there is a lot of synergy, as you said, and
Yes.
Letcher County, and I think our community is being recognized for agriculture and the interest in
Yes.
that work.
Well, in particular, the way that you guys united with Mountain Comprehensive Healthcare and the school system and did the summer feeding program, which then went on and became the Saturday feeding program, and what a beautiful thing that is. I mean, that's actually discussed in Washington, y'all. It's so cool. Go ahead.
Marguerite Hammond.
Yes.
And I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Whitesburg. And in 2012, we started Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. This program provides a free book each month that's mailed directly to the child's home and regardless of income, and it's for children under 5. And if you've seen in the Lexington Herald recently, 50% of the children starting kindergarten are not prepared for school. And that includes our children in Letcher County. We are covering right now 22 of the 24 zip codes in Letcher County and hope to bring in the other 2 by the end of the spring here.
Wonderful.
So that is something that we're trying to do to increase the education level of the children when they start to kindergarten.
You have no idea how much those books mean to those little kids. I mean, it can change, and it doesn't matter where they come from, but if they got that little book, I mean, that character could be speaking directly to them, and that life lesson. What else? Yes, sir.
I'm Sam Wright, I'm the circuit judge here in the county.
Yes,
I want
sir.
to thank you for the letter helping about our grant application.
Okay.
My drug court has applied for a grant to expand what we're doing.
Okay.
We've had a lot of success so far with what we've had, but we've not only stretched at the limits, but to
Okay.
try to accommodate, we've busted way over. I had one of my caseworkers who actually kept saying, yeah, we can have more, and she finally got us overwhelmed. She left us and quit.
Oh, no.
But what we have done is, we've been doing it for 11 years.
Yes.
We have, we've graduated 51 people so
Yes.
far. Of the ones who have graduated, they do a 2-year recidivism rate, the
Okay.
rate at which somebody has been convicted of a new crime.
Right.
If we send them to prison, put them on probation, recidivism rate is 57.8, I believe. Right?
Okay.
It's over 57%.
Okay.
Drug courts throughout the state, then it is at 20 point, less than 21%, more than 20.
Fantastic.
For my drug court, the 2 years recidivism rate is 9%, and all of those are misdemeanors. We have only had no felons in that recidivism rate. And if we go expand beyond the 2-year recidivism rate and look at the full 11 years,
Yes, sir.
we've only had one be convicted on a new felony after graduation. and that was not a drug charge. They actually tried to tell me they didn't know it was a crime, but they thought, we'll take that with a grain of salt.
Okay, okay.
They bought a car and then it had a lien on it.
Okay,
And they
okay.
sold it, couldn't pay for it, so they sold it,
Okay,
crushed it, instead of
okay.
letting it be retrieved. But
Okay.
anyway, we have had quite a bit of success.
Sure.
We're looking to expand. We've applied for a federal grant to expand it. What we need to really be able to do is to put separate tracks, because the people who are on if they are low risk,
Yes.
low needs,
Yes.
we put them in with people who are high risk, high needs, then the low risk people start adopting the behaviors of the high risk
Sure,
people.
sure.
We have that. Also, there's a lot need for a lot of mental health
Yeah.
issues within the population. If they didn't have it to start with, they develop them, because once they come off drugs, then suddenly they're looking at what's happened to their lives over the course of the drug abuse, and
Yes.
that can be very extremely traumatic, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
So we need a lot of that, and then also I'm looking to try to create a veterans drug court.
Oh, okay.
Because the veterans, the level of stress, if they're in a group and they're talking about, one person talking about, well, mom used to beat me, it's very traumatic and it can be very hard to deal with. But it's not the same thing, and the veteran might not relate to it if he's talking about, I was walking on patrol and my best friend beside me got blown away,
Yeah.
So we're trying to develop so that we can get more and handle more people, because there's a lot of people coming through the court system that needs it, and to be able to have separate tracks for the drug court.
Okay. Are others in the state coming to you and saying, how are you getting such great things? Can we talk?
Well, at the judicial colleges, all the
Yeah.
judges get together
Yeah.
and talk. We
Okay.
had recently had a drug court conference, and
Great.
all the judges who attended it all separate. We talked
Okay.
about that type of thing and what works, what doesn't, but we
Sure.
need more of that communication
You bet.
about it.
You bet.
So,
Yeah, more of that, more exchanging of ideas. That leads me back to the apple tree sort of thing. You guys aren't the only county with a healthy initiative. There's Healthy Clay, and there's others that, we can share ideas if we can connect you guys, and that can be by email or phone. You don't have to go and drive to a meeting to do. So, thank you, Judge. Thank
we
you.
appreciate the letter of support. and
Well, happy
hopefully
to
we'll
do
know
it.
by this fall, but we
Okay, this fall, okay. It's funny, some of them you hear like within a few weeks, and then others you're just kind of like on pins and needles for weeks and months and so forth, so. Yes, sir.
Some of us are working trying to get a federal prison here.
Yes, sir.
Economic impact, and that looks pretty good. And we also are working on making Letcher County a work-ready community,
Yes,
and that's moving along.
yes, thank you. I got a chance to come up when the federal prison was located here in the town forum, and I talked to the folks and I said, now you're looking at two sites that are both in the promise zone, and they said, what? I said, it's in the promise zone. And so I've explained the promise zone and all this other stuff, and I'm like, well, I know you have a list that justifies the reason why we need this federal penitentiary. Just please add promise zone to it. I don't know that it's going to make the difference, but, don't leave an asset off the table. So I wrote him a letter of support. You're welcome.
We're also working on a airport, a new airport.
Oh, really? Okay.
We're pre-approved by the FAA.
Uh-huh.
We've got issues with the procuring the land, mineral rights and those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's not just the top anymore, is it? It's the top, the bottom, the in-between, the air above, all that stuff. Was there a hand going up over here? Anybody? Okay. Yes,
I
ma'am.
had to step out, but I just want to say, it would be really nice to have, as part of the plan, an acknowledgement of the assets we already have on the ground.
Okay.
All right, and there are many, as you listen to what people are working on. And, we tend to forget, in the Bible it says, what good can come out of Galilee? Or very often people say, what good can come out of Letcher County or the mountains or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that needs to be added.
And I agree with you, and will tell you that there are at least 3 different organizations that are partners with us that are using their Vista workers to do nothing but to collect asset maps. Okay?
Okay, but it'd be nice to have it in an informational format that appeals to the general public, because so many folks are without work.
Okay.
So many folks don't have enough to make ends meet. And it'd be nice for them to be able to notice and be told, you live in a great place.
You do.
And these are the things that are in your great place.
That's right.
And we tend to get,
So what you're saying is, once the asset map is done, let's use it as a way to celebrate the promise.
absolutely,
Okay,
and
and to get
celebrate
that out.
Letcher County.
Okay, all right. Anything else? Any other ideas? Concerns? Yes, sir.
It appears to me that Letcher County has come together in common thinking better than I've ever seen it in my years. I've been amazed at how many people have been interested in working together for the benefit of Letcher County as opposed to our history of fighting each other.
That is so cool. Folks, somebody sent me the cover of the Tri-City News, and on the front page was mayors talking to city council about merging governments, and that's the cities of Cumberland, Benham, and Lynch. And I'm sitting there going, could it be? Could it be? Is this going to be this historic moment in time where they are able to put, to just say, it was nice when we were, had high schools and played against one another, but it's the 21st century now. Let us remember those moments and value them, but let us move forward and work together on that. All right. You guys have been absolutely wonderful. I want to leave you with 2 requests, okay? 2 requests. The first one is the hardest, all right? And that is what I would like from each and every one of you for the next 8 years and 275 days is to assume the promise zone is going to work, okay? Now, at the end of that, you all can come up to me and you just say, child, I knew it didn't stand a chance, all right? But if you will just assume that it's going to work, that can change so many things. The time for being able to sit back and watch people fall on their face, it's over if we're going to make this happen. So I'm asking that you all assume that it's going to happen. The second thing is not quite as hard, but that is when you run into that individual that has an idea, they want to improve their community, or they want to open a business, or they want to do something. We've all seen them. The first thing that comes out of a person's mouth is to take that idea and to stomp it like that genie did into the ground and tell them how stupid they are. Don't be one of those folks. Encourage them, even if it's the craziest thing about how they're going to build a rocket ship to Mars in the barn. Just say, well, that's an interesting idea. Did you know Moorhead has a space program? I talked to a gentleman who had an idea for a tourism idea. My inclination based on that, it might be a little premature for that. But instead of telling him that, because one, that's just my opinion, and it won't even buy you a cup of coffee, even if you get the cheap stuff at the Speedway, okay? But the other thing is, I just that's great. You need some help writing a business plan? I can connect you with some resources for that are free for you. I got a form that will allow you to write business plans, and all you do is answer the questions. By the time you're done, you've got a business plan written. But more than that, I'd encourage you to go down, take your family, go visit where this is a tourist attraction already, and just talk with them. We're not competing against those folks. Go down there. Not only will you get information, you might get a partner, you're going to get tons of good dialogue going, and you can write the trip off for the family off your income taxes as you did it for business. If we can all learn to be able to start thinking and encouraging the entrepreneur thinking, it's going to then help us in being able, if we're going to change the quality of life, it's going to take all 199,682 of us. There's no cavalry coming. There's no magic bullet. It's just us doing what we've always done, and that's pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps, dusting ourselves off, and making it happen. Have we had hard times in the past? Yeah. When we get on the other side of this, are we going to have hard times in the future? Yeah, some will go wrong. You know it. Okay?
Cindy, could you just tell us, over the next 8+ years, what Highlands, like, are you gonna be doing this every year?
Yes,
in
ma'am.
our community, or like what, and like, are you gonna take our emails from this? Because the last time we did it, we gave emails and I don't think it did anything.
It did, and I got a concerned citizen called me at home on my cell phone yesterday. You may know him. But anyhow, over that, first of all, I got all the notes, and I did not get any word at all that there had been a call for emails and, community action or whatever it was. Did not get that. That has been sent to me last night, and it's now on my email list, okay? So, what am I going to do? I'm going to be in your community every chance that I get, and for sure, I'm going to conduct one of these every single year. That's part of what the Promise Zone is, and that's what I do. Okay? Am I going to lead your community action committee? No, not going to do it. But I sure will help you guys pull it together to see whether or not you guys have the resources you need to be able to drive it yourselves and try to help communicate with one another. Yes, I will. Okay?
Thanks, that's what it's just.
You bet. You bet. So, it's so interesting. Every one of these is a little bit different. A little bit different. Some communities are still spinning out of control. They're like, have fear in their eyes because they don't feel like they've actually hit economic bottom yet from the changes that are happening in the coal industry. Another county I was in wanted so desperately to express, we're ahead of the curve. This is all the things that we're doing. Get out of our way. You can't even keep up with us. We're moving so fast. I'm like, yeah, go. Yeah. So anyhow, I appreciate you all giving me 2 hours of your time on a Monday afternoon, plus having to eat on the side here, and I thank you very much. Thank you.